For this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how I paint my pale skinks. So the model I'm going to be using is this one from the Starblood Stalkers Underworlds team. We've started off with a black primer, and then we're going to give it a zenithal highlight with Liquitex whiting. Then we're going to take CARROBURG Crimson, and we're going to carefully, through the airbrush, just pick out some of the areas that we want to add a little bit of colour to the skin. Place like joints, the neck, hands and feet. Then we're going to use a really fine brush and some more CARROBURG Crimson. And we're just going to line in any creases in the skin or any joins between different areas. This just adds a bit of extra definition. Then we're going to take VOLUPUS pink contrast paint. I'm going to paint in any areas that we want to be a darker pink, like the mouth or any of these, like, I don't really know what you call them, like skin flaps. Now we're going to paint all the metal with BALTHASAR gold. Any wood areas we're going to paint with Games Workshop Contrast WYLDWOOD. And then for the feathers, what we're going to do is we're going to give them a base coat of Corax Black, which is actually not really black, it's like a dark blue. And then we're just going to roughly wet blend in some Inky Darkness, going from about 2/3 of the way down towards the tip of the feather. You don't have to be too careful here. With wet blending, the idea is that you work between the colours whilst they're still wet on the model. We're not going for like a mega smooth blend, so don't spend too long on this. There's a lot of feathers on these models, so we're just trying to create a nice little effect, but you know, it doesn't have to be a perfect blend. We're going to paint over the top of them as well in a minute anyway. Once that's blended, we're then going to take some Sons of Horus green and just blend in the last of it. You can go backwards and forwards whilst they're wet on the model and just keep blending and blending and blending if you really want to, but as long as you've got a nice little transition, that's fine. Then we take some Sons of Horus green and we're going to edge highlight the feather. Try and be careful here, but it doesn't matter if you're a little bit rough. Feathers aren't supposed to be, you know, perfectly pristine, so I'm going to create a centre line down the middle of the feather, again with Sons of Horus green. And then just going to paint in some little lines diagonally down the side just to break up those side parts. Now we've done with all the main colours, so we're going to give any area that isn't the skin a coat of MIG Streaking Grime. I'm using a brush here just because it's easier. If you could spray the whole model with Streaking Grime, but it'll make the skin a lot grimier and give it a bit of a brown tone, which if you don't want, obviously, you don't want that. So I'm painting it onto any of the metal areas, any of the feathers, any area basically that isn't skin. If it gets onto the skin a little bit, that isn't a problem. And then we're going to take some enamel thinner on a cotton bud. I'm just going to roll it over all the metal areas. And then we're going to take a clean one and roll it again over that. And that just reduces it down. So it still leaves a nice grimy residue, but it's not too extreme. And if there's any areas where you want to clean up a little bit more thoroughly, you can use a brush and again some enamel thinner. Like getting into these eyes here, you know, getting any of the grime out of there so we can actually paint those properly later. Now we're going to take some dark Streaking Grime and just going to apply it in little patches on all the metal work. Just want to be a little bit sort of random with the application here. If you go overboard, you can reduce this back again with the cotton bud and the thinner. Then we're going to take NIHILAKH oxide. We're going to kind of load up the brush and then just run it over any of the metal areas. And this is going to give us this nice verdigris effect when it dries. Again, you don't want it in the eye sockets, so we'll try and remove it out of there. Okay, I've given it a blast with the hot hairdryer, and this is where we're at. One of the last things to do is to take your really thin brush again and just line in any areas where you want some extra definition, like in between armor plates or between the skin and the armor, with Nuln Oil. This just creates a bit more definition in the model and helps break up all those grimy areas. For the eyes, we start with YRIEL yellow, just carefully painting those the whole of the eyeball with that. And then we just make a vertical line with some black paint, it doesn't matter which brand you use. And then we take some CARROBURG crimson and we line around the eye again with our really thin brush. Once that's done, there we have it. This is what our pale skinks look like. I haven't painted the gem on this one, and the base, what I've done for the base is very similar to how I do most of my bases, which is Vallejo European mud along with some little bits and pieces added in, and then some dark streaking grime and some MIG curse oil. You can see it in my other videos, I'll link one of them up here. But you can do your bases however you like, of course, and I've put a little tuft in there just to add a bit of extra interest too. I hope you liked the video, guys. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe, it really helps the channel, and hopefully see you next time. Thanks very much, bye!